Welcome to another video. Today we're looking at what if civilization started over two human scenario. If you're new, that means that there are two human species, Neanderthal and Sapiens. We humans of the real world are the Sapiens who survived through the times, and Neanderthals died around 40,000 years ago. All of them died out, and there's like 4% DNA in some populations, but for the most part, most humans are different. But here we look at a scenario where Neanderthal and humans kinda started over, and Neanderthals kinda came into existence. Even though Neanderthals have a bigger brain than us, they are a bit scrawnier, well, a bit more bulkier, and a bit stronger than us. So we'll see how this works. But if you guys like the video, hit that like button and subscribe button. It will help out so massively. You wouldn't even think of how massively it would help out. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the video. So last video we looked at many nations coming into existence and many nations expanding. But we haven't looked at China or any of its companions in its lands. We quickly see that Tibet has run out of lands for some reason, and they seek for more. They yearn for the great ability to take as much territory as possible, and they so please. Although in the western parts that they do take the territories, it's very cold, very harsh in the winters, and so cattle farming begins to become the norm in these areas. There is a small area where people didn't really want to go, so they just kept out of that region. But in other regions they kind of moved a lot, even though there's another pocket over there. With that being said, we do see that not only will the Li Yengji people start to do a lot, but we do see that the Li Yengji line is much more complex than you would think at first. With the Li Yengji having done a lot of things while Tibet was expanding, and we even see once Tibet expanded a bit more over here, Li Yengji had already prepared a lot of expansion parties to move out into the surrounding regions over here and to take over a lot of territory. With that being said, we do see that a lot of this territory over to these regions over here has been declared to be now Li Yengji Dynasty lands. And quickly see that the Li Yengji Dynasty has a weird bulge, and once they start to expand the bulges areas around it, then we kind of see that their goal was just to go over here. Down south we do see that they still managed to incorporate some more territories into their great nation, although it's still very futile for them to gain any more territory. It's still little to no biggie for them to take any territory, meaning that they don't really have a stop on how much territory they take. They only stop where they want to stop, and at some point that was like over here. And we eventually see that due to not stopping for a while, a lot of people die, and once a lot of people die, progress stops for a while, and yeah, the Li Yengji are very worried about their people. So they will just stop the expansions, and they will be like, yo, we don't need to expand anymore, thank you for helping us expand, we'll compensate you for your losses. And we quickly see that many of these people are compensated, and the Li Yengji, the guy who made the Li Yengji dynasty and pushed out the Meng Ying, who are now the Li Ying, are pretty much the great descendant. Yeah, the great descendant of the Li Yengji. Li Yengji is like very benevolent. He is very friendly towards his people. He even goes as far as to do what his people are doing in the farms and produces his own localized food, and sometimes he even helps his own people out in the farms, which gives him a large popularity amongst the people. And he, when asked by other people who just want to know why he's doing so, he gets news that well, he just says, my people need help in the farms and I'm just here. I have nothing better to do. And with that being said, we do see that a lot of these people will admire his bravery and his stupidity a bit, because he's kind of stupid when it comes to romance. So many people like, yo, bro, you need to get yourself a wife, and he's like, I have a lot of consorts, that's good enough for me. And eventually we do see that it just becomes a huge laughing stock for the people of the Li Yengji Dynasty. But it's not like, it's not a bad laughing stock, it's a good one. But while Li Yengji was busy on its expansion, it was seeing a very big turmoil as one of the consorts, one of the more important consorts, was poisoned. And we quickly see that the culprit will be chased down into Li Yengji, not Li Yengji, but Li Ying and the dynasty of Li Ying. And we quickly see that Li Yengji asks for permission to take this person into custody, but the Li Yings will refuse, and Li Yengji will back down. But seeing the opportunity to kind of strike, Li Ying asks for some territories down south, and they say, if you don't get it, we're going to war with you, and we're putting our entire friends here. Now Li Yengji thinks that only this guy is its friend, but really doesn't know it has a pretty good friend over here, and this southern friend isn't as friendly to these guys, but they probably would join, although capitals are kind of far away, so I don't know how that would go. But from border, it's just quick move over there. But these guys have much more of an important foe down south, so they won't really want to go to war with it. And Li Yengji will see itself go to war once it says no. And we quickly see that the Li Ying Dynasties ruler, the great grandson of one of the great grandsons, manages to actually lead his army into a siege and manages to take over this town, although at the loss of many horsemen, which was his entire army's backbone. If you don't have horsemen in these times, it's kind of expected that you would lose if you were to be attacked by another horseman army. Although horsemen are kind of rare and difficult troops to train, they are very valuable in the battle, and seeing as they have just lost many of their horsemen, and well, experienced horsemen who know how to fight and know how to like defend areas, because they've been fighting both on the sea and on land, it's kind of devastating for the Li Yengji. Well, not the Li Yengji, but the Li Jings. I'm getting them a bit mixed up. My fault for making their names so similar. But we quickly see, once this village is taken, the friend over here manages to only make a few small contributions to the war, as they manage to only push in 2 areas and manage to take only little land. While they do so, we do see that the Li Yengji will make a large defensive movement over here that will when the this guy pushes his troops over here, will fail their offensive and effectively will destroy their ability to defend these regions. With Uji seeing the opportunity to gain a lot of territory, they will form a pact with their friend over here, declaring war and beginning their first attack. We quickly see that this attack comes as a surprise to everyone, as this guy has not been able to convince these guys to attack anything or help them. And also, fuck, that looks like a cool border, although I like this shape much more. But we see, due to the massive force that managed to push into these regions, this guy wanted to push through and flank them, so they pushed into this guy's territory, thinking that these guys wouldn't do anything. But to their massive surprise, they would be met with a large attack by these guys, a counterattack that would shake their entire army. As we see that the Li Yengji Xi forces were already over here and able to push back the enemy. Although over here we do see that some pushback was done by the forces over here, who managed to push in that region and even into this region, managing to take at least 2 or 3 villages, that is. We also see that on the borders they do manage to make a few more dents into the border regions, although it's only a few outposts that actually manage to do so. And over here we do see that the Ujis will direct their entire military force to taking this village to cut off the supply lines. Although that is very successful, it does not yet cause the offensive to stop. And we quickly see that once the Ujis take these 2 villages, these guys are finally pushed out by the southern and northern troops continuing their offensive over here. With that being done, the forces over here of the Yengji will move into the regions over here, taking back their territories and even pushing further, making a sudden buffer zone between them and their foes. Over here we do see that the enemy does manage to make a few gains, and even surprisingly Ai Long makes an appearance when they push into these areas with the regional capital over here for their puppet, because they kind of made a puppet at some point. The puppet was kind of only in charge of some territories over here, because the Ai Longs kind of wanted to consolidate their strength in different ways, so they kind of gave this area a bit of a puppet status, autonomous region basically. And once that was confirmed, it was kind of a big long shot for the people. But we do see that the Li Yengji who were over here fighting will see that the Ai Longs are helping out these guys and will begin their fight to deliver a crushing blow to the Li Ying's, trying to push them out of these regions to finally unite the fronts. Over here we do see that not only will the Li Ying's push out the forces over here, but they will push into the southern regions, taking them over and even taking this island, which was previously and forever just occupied. We also see that once the forces over here managed to gain this village up north, this town was completely abandoned, so when it was thought to be full and was a bit sieged, people just recognized, oh, it's full of just people, no soldiers are here. And seeing the complete laughable army of this nation being just such large cowards, even though they moved into the enemy territory first, is quite a large thing for the Ujis. Both the Uji and Yengji kind of see it as a kind of laughing stock, these guys as a laughing stock. We quickly see that these guys will be met with a swift attack by these guys, who will send out one of their best forces, with the Ujis doing the same. And the Li Yengji will hold off for now, trying to at least gain more territory before doing so. With that being said, the Li Yengji will push towards this area, and over here some Li Yengji troops that came in to aid this region have started to push back the enemy in some skirmish attacks, with the army of Ai Long trying to stop them. It's only a bit of time until their supply lines are hit, and we quickly see that not only will these guys be pushed out, but they will pushed into 3 different villages, which will become the first buffer zone between these guys and this town. These guys over here and this town. And we do see that over here this town is evacuated, and the people over here are able to evacuate successfully, although the soldiers that stay here are, yes, massacred. They do massacre many of the Ai Longs in return when they try to attack. And we quickly see that the last forces over here in the center areas are pushed out, and finally these areas are joined up into one large front, giving these guys the largest front of the entire war, as we quickly see that they will push into as many territories as possible and will launch a offensive towards the second last town. With that being said, we do see that many of the island territories will not be able to hold out, and will start to send out a lot of grain. Even though they aren't able to hold on to the production quite well, they are still able to bring out a lot of grain for the soldiers. Over here we do see that an Li Yengji led counterattack will liberate this village, although it is very successful. It is unable to fully take over this town, and we quickly see that this village over here is abandoned in favor of defending this town, which was a big defeat for the Ailangs and the Li Jings. But we even see that it's a bigger loss for the Li Jings once they are attacked from the south, and once the town is taken, the forces over here surrender. And we quickly see that a counterattack led by the Li Yengji leader managed to push quite far and even take some territories over here, managing to even take a lot of crucial territory, which will be very crucial for the future campaigns. We'll even see some other things happening, like a small Li Yengji led counterattack in the sea, where we see that not only is the naval size very comparable, but as you can see, this guy had 20 ships, this guy had 20 ships, and with those two having that many ships, these guys were pretty much on par, except for this guy had around 21 more ships. And in terms of war, they now have more because they have 145, with 198 more that they can make. With that being said, we currently will see that a full-on led assault by the Li Yengji Dyna will be made to attack these regions, where a general will take the opportunity and push into these areas, trying to attack this town over here. Although he does manage to surrender, make a few forces over there surrender, he does see that his Dyna is unable to do too much over here and unable to take this town, so the Dyna comes to his aid. With that being said, we quickly see that the Ying Dynasty revolt will start in the Li Yings, as we quickly see that these areas decide that they want to become a Li Ying Dynasty, but they will be subjugated and this town is taken in tandem. With these forces being subjugated, we quickly see that the forces over here push further, but the farther they push, the more that they see that the Mingjings have actually become quite strong, as they have taken over the capital region. They haven't taken it over just yet, but they have taken a big area and they have taken over the homeland of their whole area. And over here, we quickly see that this nation quickly manages to become a very large Swiss cheese nation, as we quickly see the Mingjing revolt sprung up, and even over here some Mingjing forces try and push in these areas, although they're quickly and swiftly taken care of. With that being done, we quickly see that without any orders from the capital, the forces over here will retreat into their own nation, and quickly we see that many of these regions will come under occupation. And with that being done, we quickly see that even this town is unable to hold their ground. And with that, we also see that many of these regions will fall over to the Li Yengji, and once the Ying Dynasty starts to see its fall, as they are unable to match the manpower of the Li Yengji, even losing one of their capital towns, we quickly see that a force of liberation will be sent to liberate this city over here. Although it's unable to take it at first, it's able to push quite far and even reach the outskirts of the city. While that was going on, we do see that a counter attack over here manages to push back the Mingjings, who try to retake their own old nation, but once their fortress peninsula falls, they are left to one last area. With the last Asian news coming through here, we quickly see that these forces manage to push into these territories over here and even take over some island territory. And once this nation over here falls because of this thing, because of the town falling, we quickly see that over here these regions will be taken back by this guy, and Island will be forced back. With future efforts to take back some territory becoming very hard to do. Although we quickly see that the forces over here will push into Ai Long territory, managing to take quite a lot of territory. With that being said, I will now move over to another conflict zone, that being again down in the south, where we see for the first time these two will go to war, with the southern one making the first move, trying to take over the northern territories, although the northern territories are strong enough to fight against these guys, managing to also boost their population in tandem. We also see that over here a counterattack leads these guys into a large fall, and the double village over here even suffers the fall of one of the village areas, and once again a attack comes from this area, we see that this village falls. Over here this village quickly becomes the first Korean town, although it is still small. It is large enough to become something like that. Over here we also see another town come into existence, this time being these guys. And I'm going to say many towns do exist over here. I just haven't been putting them down. The reason that there are so many towns is partly because of some stuff that has been happening in these regions, and that's mostly because most of the rice farming is, if I were to go on the Neanderthal tribe area, we quickly see that most of it is around, well, around these areas. So basically most of the rice farming is in these regions, and as you can see, some of it even falls below these guys, and a large part of these areas also have that. But the second largest rice farming areas are the Uji and the Chengxis. As we quickly see that these regions quickly become a very staple area of taking in tandem food. With that all being said, we'll see that a force of around 100 will push through over here, and with 1,000 more fresh recruits, this war will become the deadliest war of the Taiwanese peninsula so far, with the northern parts even falling over to the southern parts, and even this island falling over. With that being said, we quickly see that down south, one of the naval forces manages to actually put some troops on the southern areas over here, and with a surprise attack from the sea over here, we quickly see that the town falls, and once the town falls, the southern nation falls, even though it had a strong start. With the southern town falling, we quickly see that Taiwan will become very populated, and I will have to take this island and do that. And I keep forgetting, like, the smaller islands are like harder to notice. So yeah, now we'll go to the Mumban Dynasty, Mumban Empire. We quickly see the Mumbans will do something very atrocious, and that is attack one of these nations over here, that being the Northern Sri Lanka. Northern Sri Lanka will be unable to defend its Indian territories, and will lose them, even though it has a lot of lands over here. Its ally over here tries to defend it, but once Mumban forces move into the various territories over here, it's quickly noted that the Mumbans were already moving against these guys, and even in some territories where there were no troops before, like over here, because, well, it was kind of a easy to defend region, we quickly see that many of these areas will become very much occupied by Mumban troops. With many of these regions becoming occupied, we quickly see that the era of conflict begins soon, as the era of conflict will begin to heighten the technological things, and will on technological level of the world, and we quickly see that the ancient wars of the ancient world will quickly start to become very deadly, as the Mumban forces manage to push into these areas, taking them very much over, and over even in the southern areas of the central front, it is very strong. The Mumban advance is pretty strong. Over here we see that the Mumbans cut off any attempts at, well, they thought that the Omanians were going to attempt a invasion of this guy, which was true, they were going to attempt it, but once they saw that the Mumbans were at war, they were like, you know what, if they're at war, then we don't want to go to war with both the Mumbans and those guys, so yeah. And we quickly see that with that being said, we quickly see many armies start to push into the coastal regions over here, taking many of these areas over. And with that being said, we quickly see that this red nation quickly starts to fall over, as many of its regions just are unable to see how the war is going, or directly in the front lines. And even over here, where the front line is the weakest for the Mumbans, they are making significant progress, and even where they cannot push, they are still able to break through. That being this region, because I'm just gonna tell you guys, this area over here is very important, because many traders come over here to dock their ships, and once they see war, they just go over to here and over here. So these two surrounding countries quickly gain a lot of money, and they're like, you know what, we're not gonna help this Red India anymore. We quickly see once the Mumbans take over this empire, we see that the Mumbans will declare the Great Mumban Empire to exist. And they will also start to move up north, although their movements are cut off when they have a lot of, well, problems in their own country, as generals begin to fight over territories. With that being said, we do see new Indian nations coming into existence, with the first one being this one, even though it's kind of weirdly shaped. That's because it is supposed to be like that. Many of the nations of India don't know how to exactly make borders look good, so they are going to make them very squiggly. Plus, these nations are very young compared to a lot of other nations, and in terms of size, they are very large, even for their own, well, generation of nations. Even though we are seeing a lot of these nations kind of just becoming very large, we don't see many of these nations actually starting wars, because at this point they are more worried about working together to fight back any Omanian threat than the Mumbans are. And the Mumbans too, actually. They are like, yo, we don't want the Mumbans, nor do we want the Omanians here. Damn, how about we just leave both of them to be? And if they attack us, we all attack together. Huh? Good idea. It's a very good idea. It's a stupid idea. It's a very good idea. Huh? But basically, everyone is like, they're maybe going to attack, but we don't know when, so they might not attack. But we're about to be sure. I'm not sure. If we're about to be, then we're about to be. But if we're not about to be, then we're not about to be. So everyone's on the edge, even though they are like kinda on not the edge. So yeah, it's a large funny thing that's going on. Also, Li Yengji Part 2. But yeah. Now going over here, we do see that last episode we did see that the Bavarians did push into these territories, and we do see that their entire goal with taking these territories was to release some nations that they really wanted to release or give independence to. And we quickly see that the first Austrian nation comes into existence with its horrendous border gore, as we quickly see that many of these borders will be drawn by me to look as horrendous as possible, because Austria Part 2, Europe's problems, not mine. But we quickly see that with all of this, Austria will quickly unite itself after Bavaria kind of gives this region over to Austria. And we even see the southern areas over here even getting some more autonomy, although Austria again takes it over. And we quickly see that Austria also asks for some territory, just for them to kind of use that territory to expand into territories that they shouldn't have expanded. And quickly we do see that Austria is becoming very, very power hungry, as they kind of see that the territories over here, even though we quickly will see that the Austrians are kind of non-existent, and most of them are Czechnik. Yo, I created a new thing over here. I'm not kidding. We have Czechniks. But we do see that some of these German and Chechen people kind of integrate into one, making the first Austrian people. With that being said, we have a problem here. So as we can see, the sapien population moved a bit into these areas, but they haven't moved quite a lot. They're about to. Yep. So Venice kinda just wanted to take these territories to stop anyone else from taking these areas, even though that kinda wasn't going to be a problem. We quickly see that most of these nations that now exist will go into conflicts all over the place, with some of these nations just ganging up on other nations while some just don't. And we quickly see that the heightened escalation of warfare in both everywhere and nowhere will start wars both in Normandy and even England, which has been for a long time very okay, even though tensions have been building between these guys. We quickly see that the stronger and more capable nations over here quickly take over as much territory as they wish, although some of them do take less territory than the others do. The areas that they do take just go over to them, and that's basically what they take. This nation quickly decides to not be annexed by this guy, but be annexed by Brittany. And Normandy goes on a full-on campaign against Belgium for some reason. I don't know why. They just maybe have a kind of fetish against attacking the Belgians. Maybe also the goddamn Germans, but we do not know yet. Also, with the attack over here, we do see that these areas, these two small nations, non-existent and non-existent. You don't exist anymore, now become mine. And that's what this guy does. And once it's kind of like, yo, I want your lands, and this guy says no. Again, it invades, but this time it's having a large, more or worse so that time at invading. So yeah, it's this guy is bound on the Neanderthals of this guy. Yeah, it bound to failure at some point. Although we do see that this nation quickly annexes the rest of this guy, making it a quick and easy buffer zone between these two countries. We do see that Bremen is very mad at this because they were planning to take these regions as much as possible, but now that's not possible. And we quickly see that Bremen will try and fail at taking any more territory, as another nation quickly takes the territories over here, and another nation just goes on to make even more territories. We quickly see that the German idea of quickly making as much territory as possible your own quickly becomes very, very liked amongst the German people, because that kind of gives you a lot of territory. Even though it's scattered, it's still a lot of territory. And we quickly see that most people not very much against it, most people like it, some still despise the idea, others are like, yo, this is actually fire, let's just do this. And quickly we do see many nations actually take up a part in this, and we quickly see that this guy somehow managed to ask this guy, are they the same thing? Oh yeah, I forgot this guy made a few areas over here their own. Now, let me just close the goddamn windows so my dogs don't start to bark as much. But we quickly see, with the addition of taking these regions, Bremen has been sufficiently pissed off And once the guys quickly front their expansionist areas over here, which quickly grant them a large piece of land over here, many new nations try and do pop up around them, although they are still weak. These nations are just able to do as much as this guy is. And some of these nations, yes, they're large, but they will eventually, I'm sure of it, fall apart. God, I still love this, how this thing looks. But we will see that in many regions, specifically over here, unifications do happen where we do see that this guy, province, takes over this nation through marriage. And even over here, this guy, yeah, it's kind of weird. This looks better, I think. No, I don't know. Actually, well, yeah. But Azerbaijan Part 2 over here, we do see that this nation in Catalonia kind of just takes over these regions in a war that kind of erupts out of here, that they kind of just may have started without any provocation. But we quickly see with them pushing up to this guy's capital, they will say, yo, I'm going to take these territories and wait, let me just take a bit more. Yep. Let me just take this and yep. And now they look very weird. Also, this guy now can be taken, so this guy now has a capital. Eevee! Actually, yeah, these two look better. So this guy again makes this guy, takes over that and makes that its capital. That's the official story. Don't get mad at me. But for Iberian Basque, we do see that the Basque country has been doing all very well, and we quickly see that it does manage to kind of change its color because it was kind of too close to this. Now you can probably see it. Now it doesn't look like somebody vomited all over the place. And over here, I think I'm gonna just make this color a bit darker. Yeah, that works. Don't ask me. I'm just making. I just do that. But like I said, wars in England shall happen, and the first war is the War of Wales, the first Welsh War, and we quickly see that the war will begin when Southern Wales begins a small incursion into the Central Wales country. We quickly see that Central Wales is unable to defend many of these regions, but is able to hold them. And over in the north, this guy kind of takes the opportunity to expand over here, although mercenaries start to kind of come in and help Central Wales. With Central Wales finally gaining some territory in this war, we quickly see that the war of Welsh dominance begins, and with Wales on the first Central Wales on the first backhand, it sees that it will become very strong as its people quickly aid its country. And we quickly see that the Northern country starts to fall as both naval landings and naval landing takeovers of strategic regions like this small passage over here will be very needed. While that happens, we see that these two countries kind of start to beef a bit more until we see the first Irish War with well, what seems to be Southern Northern. I don't know what to call these guys, but we do see that these two Irish nations begin the war of Irish dominance. Irish. I sounded Irish for it. I sounded like an Irishman for a second, but hey, Irish. We are going to see that many of these areas will quickly see themselves become very, very divided between factions, with this guy and this guy helping this guy out, but this guy also helping this guy out, which kind of creates this weird complex of relations. Over here, Northumbria declares war upon its northern enemy, and we quickly see that it does manage to take some territory Although in this war it is immediately pushed out, and we quickly see that it only manages to hold on to some territory after it moves into these territories over here. After the war, they do take over these areas, getting suspiciously close. But we do see that with this guy finally surrendering and this guy doing that, this nation will be assimilated into Central Wales, with all the forces from the north beginning to fall down on this guy, who has only managed to do a bit more over here and not much. This guy getting the news just days later from this, well, a day later from the fall, about the fall of the Northern Wales. This guy decides that he will go all in for the capital, and we quickly see that the capital of Central Wales will be targeted. And once this last village is taken, and this village is tried to be taken, this village does not budge. No matter how much you attack it, it does not budge. And finally, relief has arrived as the relief forces start to push into these regions, and they have started to even arrive in bulk. With hundreds of warriors coming through, we quickly see that a attack at this village will cause many people to see it as a great place to kinda attack people, if you ever need to attack someone at some point. And we quickly see that Southern Wales sees itself being on the back foot of the war, seeing as it's unable to defend mostly its capital regions, but maybe even its own villages. With its villages starting to fall one by one, it sees that the last stand over here becomes crucial for this nation, and we quickly see that after some mercenaries do arrive, they manage to push out for into these areas to stop this attack. But quickly we do see that after a week another attack will befall the gates, and once this town is taken over, well, not taken over but surrounded, it is taken over. And Wales quickly unites under one flag, the flag of True Wales. With True Wales finally becoming a thing, we quickly see many people start to basically flock to these areas, seeking to take over as much territory or as much, well, riches as they can. And once the areas start to be flocked into, we quickly see many villages of Welsh origin quickly popping up, with a new town also coming into existence. This town over here becomes kind of actually this town, because I don't like what it's a iffy region to be at. But we quickly see that over here another town will be made, and even another one will come into existence, although this time it's a bit more inland. With that being said, many of these regions begin to see a full inhabitation, as the new areas that they were expanded into are now being taken into seriousness, and even Essex takes them very seriously, and it begins to see many of the regions become very populated, and with that population they are now able to fight against their enemy. Because now they have enough villages that now outnumber even this town's population, even though they have some villages over here. Basically the motto for this guy, for Essex, is take one man from every family. Let's see what we can do with that. And the idea of that was like, okay, we can just take one man from every family, it will work out. It kind of worked out in theory, but when it came to truth, it was an iffy subject. And we quickly see that once they start their attack on this island and on the central front, they will immediately push back on this island, whereas in the central front they managed to actually make a few gains, although they will immediately push back and they weren't allowed into these regions again. And we do see that Essex will quickly become very powerful, as it does manage to take over the regions over here. It manages to take over all the farms. It spares the farmers actually, and the armies do not very much see farmers as a great target, as they don't attack farmers, nor do they do anything to the farmer's woman. Yeah, that's what these guys are doing on the regular basis, and everyone else in the English Isles, because basically the English Isles quickly see themselves as becoming the degenerate isles. Yeah, that's what many would call them in the future as a nickname. But we do see that once Ireland takes over these areas, and it sees that the war over here is going bad for the enemy that kind of sent aid to the southern guys, Essex will see itself being supported by not only this guy but Cornwall as well, who now have started their own offensive and own attack over here, although there are more forces over here because Wessex was expecting this battle. We do see that many of these areas do get taken over, and once they do, it's just kind of a hard to say thing of what happens next. But basically, this guy just falls over, and Cornwall gets the regions that it asks for. That being those regions, and Essex takes over that. And with that being the thing, they still have like their current capital as their current capital, and it's pretty much a laughing stock at this point. Like, if you really want a town, why not just, well, if you want a capital, why not just take the other guy's capital or assimilate the people? But Essex is like, yo, this guy over here, if we have our capital over here, it will be easier for our guys to see, oh, if the capital falls, we fall, and it won't be good for us. Although that is the thinking, once Cornwall, Ireland and Essex start to support this guy's campaign over here, we quickly see that their thinking is not that good, as this guy deliberately held its capital on, like, very much near the border, and we quickly see that it did not help them. But that's because they didn't really have any more forces to defend this area. They didn't have money or silver to pay the people. We quickly see that once these areas do fall over to the guy over here, this southern country is quickly going to... Oh, how am I going to just say this? Because my nose is itchy, and when my nose is itchy, I don't like it. I generally don't like it. My nose is very itchy. But yeah, with that being said, we quickly see that this nation and this Irish nation becoming very strong kind of bothers these two, and these guys put aside their differences and like start a defensive front over here in case of anything. Although Western Ireland is like, yo, actually Eastern Ireland is like, yo, leave us alone, we don't want anything bad. And surprisingly, even though Essex is in a full-on damn alliance, London still hates them and sends a a raiding party to attack them and take over as much goods as possible, because they're saying like, oh, these guys aren't ours, we are not at fault, these guys are not our warband. And Essex is like, oh, that's not your warband, that is so, huh? And we quickly see that the warband will be pushed from the countryside until they reach this village, where we see that they get surrounded. And London demands that the war guys, the warband, doesn't give up and gets their freedom and gets these territories over here. But Essex just kind of destroys them. They burn the village down. Then rebuild their own village. And we see that the people that managed to escape are like, you burned everything we had. And Essex is like, You had war banners in your fucking thing. What the fuck do you expect? And Essex is like, yo, if you do that again, we will. If we again see a war party from your lands coming into our lands, we will invade you, because we will see that as an attack people. We quickly see that London dismisses it as a blatant attempt at trying to stop them from doing what they so please, and we quickly see that they will not listen to this and will do so again. Bad idea, as immediately after the news reaches the capital, forces just pour out of it. The forces just pour out of this area and quickly surround the capital, taking everyone by surprise at how ruthless the Essex people are. We quickly see that once the forces over here are pushed beyond all measure of craziness, because nobody was expecting for Essex to be able to do such things in such a short time, because they did so in like what 2 minutes basically of doing all of this. We quickly see that once these areas fall and the capital actually falls, the forces over here like escape by boat and try to do a last-ditch effort to defend their country, which is kind of successful, but it's that so they could get pummeled. And without the port, nor a town near them, or a small house over here that would provide a shelter for them, we quickly see that Essex just takes over the entire southern part of these territories. No surprise now, is it? And once Essex takes over these territories, we quickly see that Essex declares the greater Essex nation. Also the Scottish, yeah, they united. The reason was very simple. They thought they were going to be invaded. They weren't, and they were like, yo, you do know that we could just put our capital right here and nobody would be able to attack it, right? And they were like, genius, let's do that. And eventually we even see that East Anglia goes to war with southern Northumbria, and we quickly see that Northumbria actually joins in. I'm not going to cover the war because as you can see, it covers itself on what actually happened in these regions. And we quickly can see that these areas are left alone. Oh, actually they aren't, as both Northumbria, East Anglia, and Essex take these areas, while Scotland and Ireland take surprisingly little for how much land they have. And we quickly see that not only will that do that, and I'm getting very bored here. You know, let's do a very large war and not cover the Chinese war. And that war will be the war of the Polish revenge. The Polish revenge will be against the Prussians, who at this point have died down their efforts to expand over here. Although they did expand a bit over here, they did not do so much in expansion. They did manage to annex this nation in a bit. Well, they only annexed the northern parts, as this guy kind of was given the northern parts. But then Prussia was like, no, we want the coastal parts because we will be able to develop them. And once that was affirmed, this guy didn't have any coastal areas. Guys, yes. The Prussians are still very, very annoying people, but they're still able to do some stuff. And we quickly see that the Prussian revenge will come. The Prussians will not be able to see this war coming, as the Polish are one of the more stronger countries in Central Europe, and we quickly see that their ability to take territory will be put on very high display, as they are able to do a lot in a short amount of time. And with all of this being very, very important, because if you take one nation's village, that means that they don't get any taxes from that village. And if you don't get taxes, you don't get any money. And the more villages you have, the more taxes, the more villages you can make, and it's kind of a loop. And eventually we do see that the Prussia does lose all of that. This area, it did see all this, but the Poles warned everyone over here that, yo, we're just gonna not allow you to take anything, and if you do, we're going to go to war with you. And we quickly see that Istria, Latvia, and Livonia, still hating these guys, will have to respond to a distress call of help from the Prussians, who not so much as pleasingly ask for help. And once they do, help arrives. Although a bit late, it is still going to arrive. My nose is so goddamn fucking itchy. And we quickly see that not only will the first Livonian army move into these in the position, it will kind of pop into another one. Because why not? Life is life. And the Livonians of anyone would be ready to show you why they are ready to fight. And the reason is because they have been focusing on the entire army for a while now. Now, as we can see, the Latvians are only able to cover a small part of their own front, so they are forced to do some stuff like split their armies over here. But once the Estonian army arrives, they are able to cover much more territory because they're a much bigger area, much bigger army, and that's because as you can see, the what appears to be 7 armies against the very little how do I say this? It seems that we have a very strong Polish army. Where did this probably come from? Now I do wonder, from where did this whole thing come from? And it turns out this was already planned, as the Poles really much wanted everyone up here to kind of become their own, and they kind of friended these guys because they knew if they took this guy and took some of these regions, they would just be. Also, I was just gonna say that the Poles are mostly in the Polish regions, but they also have some Ukrainian lands, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, they have a bit of Ukrainian in them. Mostly it's not them, but yeah, they even have some Polish, a bit of Polish. It's a bit of Polish. Polish. We even see that once the forces over here arrive, they are able to do some stuff and help out the Prussians, as we quickly said that the first army of Livonia manages to do that. Third army manages to only do that because they kind of encountered the second army of the Polish forces, and the second army of Livonia manages to do all that. Now, the Lithuanian puppet, now they don't have much of anything to do, even though they are a puppet of this guy. They are not able to do much. We quickly see that once the Estonian and Latvian forces finally push in these areas, they are met by this guy, and I'm just gonna say the first encounter that 2 armies of the same size in Neanderthal lands have is not only magnificent, it will be known as the first Battle of Lithuania, because Lithuania is over here. Actually, Vilnius is kind of Well, actually, this is kind of in the Suwalki area. So the first Battle of Suwalki, it will be called. And we quickly see that the Battle of Suwalki will be a stalemate, as both armies are able to defeat each other in some way or another. But the Polish are more hurt, and so the Estonians technically come out on top, even though they had a bit more losses. We do see that once the Lithuanians do manage to do kind of well in their endeavors, we do see that the Estonian army did manage to push into these areas. Now, I know that Livonia does have 3 armies, these guys still have 2, and just gonna say that anything you're gonna ask me about that, just gonna tell you, it will get a bit messy. Messy. But it will become a bit harder to kind of see what nation has what thing. And if I did put all of these armies on the screen right now, you would have a seizure of how many there is. But as we can see, the armies have pushed into these respective areas, and the second army, the second Polish army, is engaging the third Livonian army. And the forces over here were pulled out to defend the fatherland, but because of doing so, they do lose a lot of territory over here, as the Prussians aids the Livonians because they can, and they will. But we quickly see that not only will these forces do a lot of harm towards the Polish forces, many of these armies will start to see a lot of fatigue start to build in, and that's for the first time fatigue actually becomes a very, very important thing, because if your army is fatigued, they can't really much move a lot. We quickly see that the third army is very fatigued because of all the fighting that they have to do all the time. But they're still able to push, and they do manage to connect up their entire front. Over here we do see that the Polish are unable to stop an entire large breakthrough that actually manages to become very problematic for them, as much of it becomes very, very annoyingly fast. As we can see, many of these forces kind of split up, and the main Livonian second army that goes, oh god, that was a lot of things to see at once. But we see that the second army does push this far, but eventually are forced back once these two areas are attacked and taken back, as well as this area. We quickly see that they are pushed back this far, but as of doing so, they managed to actually push the Polish quite far. And we quickly see that with the Polish seeing their first defeat in a while, even though their helpers to get independence are kind of finding them, the Polish will ask for peace, and will be granted that. And we quickly see that the Prussians will gain some territory, even though they weren't really supposed to take these territories. They did demand them, and they did get them. We quickly see that Prussia does manage to do something very quick here. And we quickly see that the thing is, they just take these areas, somewhat take these regions, and the rest around Danzig is slowly taken. And once these guys take that, we quickly see that most of this is taken by by these guys, who take these regions in retaliation for them losing a lot of territory. Well, not losing a lot of territory, but losing a fight. And with the fall of these territories to these areas, we do see that Poland loses its one and only area of commerce to the outside world, basically in these regions, and now has to rely on sheep and very expensive, wartime things. just walking trade or caravan trade. Caravan trade is still very important. It's just not seen as much as that. Also, the Livonians are kind of seeing a bit of a golden age, as yes, they didn't get any land from all of that, but hey, at least they managed to fight again. You quickly see that once the Estonian army manages to fully pull back to their own nation, and with them having little to no enemies except for this nation over here, who still is a big pain in the damn ass, we quickly see that one of these guys will quickly can I fuck like damn, bro. Also, I think from here I'm just gonna keep like the armies as a different thing. I don't know what to do. But when I don't know what to do, I can just go over here. Because we have the first time that Anatolia goes full on into full war with any other nation. And that is their for the first time, Constantinople troops kinda attack a Anatolian outpost, and we quickly see that the king of Constantinople is very arrogant, thinking that the Anatolians, even with their large population at this point, have no way of, well, defending themselves, as they are so big and so unable to defend in all of their border. Quick shot, these guys don't have to defend their Masoan border because the Masoans don't want to fight them. They'd rather not do that. Because currently they are looking at the Northern Persian nation and like, yo, can we not go to war? Please, I do not want to go to war. And the Northern Persians are very much wanting to go to war, but with the added promise of not winning, they're like, I want to go to war, but I may not win, so it's a so-and-so. But also we see that this town over here is immediately captured during the start of the war. The Battle of... I should check what it is. We quickly see that the battles over here start to quickly become very extravagant as some battles become very popular, and we quickly see that the Anatolian goal becomes clear, and that is to cut off the capital from any frontline areas. Although it's successful in this area, it's unsuccessful in this region, as the counter attack over here is successful. The reason why it's not so successful, it's successful over here, not here, is because there were forces already starting to move over here, and once they got news of forces down south, they were like, yo, let's just go there. Over here we do see that the Anatolians are pushed back over here, but it just becomes the first battle of the line, of the, thus battle of the, well, the battle of the passing. That's what this area is called, and it's very treacherous, very deadly. And if you were a swordsman during this whole war, you would be very astonished how much people die in that one passing battle. And that's why it's called the Battle of the Passing, because many died there. I'm not kidding, many die. This town eventually starts to fall, and once it does, we quickly see that the Anatolians have at this point taken over 2 more towns and are knocking on the gates of 1 more. With that being said, we do see that their pushes over here are very much successful, as eventually they manage to take over this region over here, which is very important for the Constantinese, as they are having many problems just defending all that. Thrace even comes in to try and help, but seeing that these guys are unable to defend a small part of their own nation, that being this strait over here, because they think, oh, this is not gonna get invaded. Lo and behold, the Thracians invaded. Very dumb of these guys to do. And at some point we do see that this area is finally sold off, even though it has been existing for a while. It is finally taking its toll on my dear little eyes. And we quickly see that this guy will no longer exist, with Thrace being the only nation over here. Even though it lost its friend over here, it got massive it was given money, so compensated. Basically, it got compensated. And we quickly see that once this town over here falls, many towns start to see there being a bit of a large reason why I don't go and attack another nation without finding out first. And once they did find out, they were like, "Yo, please spare us." And that was the lords of these 3 towns, because these 3 towns were begging to not get attacked. Little to none of their pleas were heard. And we quickly see that once the areas around this town was taken, it was swiftly taken and sacked. And we quickly see that the sacking of that town kind of sent and shockwaves through every single town and village. We quickly see that over here, the attack on this town over here becomes really legendary, as that is basically on the way to the capital. Over here we quickly see that this town is abandoned during a battle, and we quickly see that due to that the forces of Constantinople do manage to hold out over here and even push back the Thracian offensive over here. Although little, it is still effective to push like that.
My house is very easy. Now can I do not easy?
We quickly see that this town over here eventually falls, and with the falling of this town too, we quickly see that this town over here just gives up, and its surrounding forces also give up. This nation is also given occupation areas around these regions over here as well. Yep, I would at this point do provinces at this point, but not gonna just yet, because I wanna be a bit more realistic. Provinces at this point would have been only regions. They are still being called in this world 2 regions, but regions are very different from what they will be in the series, and provinces will also be a bit different. We quickly see that a counterattack over here leaves everyone over here of the Constantinese rebel in a ripple effect, so they will pull back to their town over here. And we quickly see that a multi-month siege will commence, and eventually, after like 2 or 4 years, during which we see that there is a succession crisis in Thessaly, and Sparta begins to see a downfall because of multiple plagues and a bit of disease, devastating its populations, and Athens kind of checking them out, like, "Yo, bro, can I take your territories if you die?" That's what Athens is asking, basically. And we quickly see that over here, once the siege starts to end, the king of Constantinople eventually gives up, and he takes his own life. With that, we quickly see that the nations over here will take these actually like this. I like it if they had like this. Yeah, that border is okay. I'm just gonna give them this. Yeah. And we quickly also see that Thrace just takes this, and once that is made known, Anatolia declares that the first Anatolian Republic, the Anatolian Empire, has now become whole. And when he's asked the question, "What do you mean whole?" he means that many Turkic peoples of the three nations of Izmir, Anatolia, and Constantia have been united. We are united as one. We are finally united into one. His speech becomes the speech of unity. It is now recorded in the Anatolian history books as very important. And we quickly see that the Anatolians will start to build up one of these towns into a small city, although it will take a few more months to do. We quickly see that this, I think Ankara is around, yeah, Ankara. We quickly see that once that is complete, Ankara will quickly be crowned the crown city of the Anatolian Empire. And with that, I'm going to serve you guys a very large thing right now. And that is a color change. Finally, after months of seeing the same color, which I'm going to now miss, we are going to see this color. Is this color? Ooh, I like this one. I very much like this one. I may copy it, maybe have copied it, but damn, do I like this one. Damn, I actually want to use this one. Like, it's between the cooler color and the more like this is the cooler one, this is like the okayer one. Yeah, that's decided. This is the color now. Also, to make it kind of different, that this guy becomes now that. Color change for many of these guys. That would actually be kind of cool to look at, not gonna lie. Oh my god. Yo, I'm creating future scenarios. Holy. I may be too loud. But yeah, this is going to be canon at some point. I'm just saying that's going to be canon at some point. But we quickly see that some of these islands over here quickly decide that we want to be back with our two peeps. We quickly see that the Izmirian islands over here, Izmirian islands, these two kind of become Anatolian now. Athens is not very happy about the rebellion over here because, well, the islands over here have not very been helpful at this point in time, but we quickly see that not only will that become one thing, the great Ankaran Empire shall be declared, and the first emperor of Ankara will be Emperor Ankaros. That's why the city was called Ankara, because the emperor wanted to name his wife it after his wife or himself, and he decided that he would name it after himself but give it a female twist for his wife. And we quickly see that Ankar's wife is called Ania, and Ania is nowhere close Ankara, but the A at the end just kind of gives it away. And we quickly see that once this nation finally does start to fall, it is quickly annexed into the Ankaran Empire. And we quickly see that these two nations are either subjugated or... Actually, I think... Yeah, that would be actually something that will happen. This guy gets, like... I'm just gonna say... invaded quickly. Then annexed. That's kind of what happens over here. And for this guy over here, it's kind of a different story, as they have peak borders and have had peak borders for a while, but now I want to kind of die them down a bit. Yeah, actually that looks good. Yeah, it's that will be something. So yeah, we finally have what appears to be Turkey. I have never seen a more perfect border design. Like never. I have never seen so perfect borders. But speaking about borders, I have to fix a lot of stuff because this is not the capital. this is not the capital. This will stay the capital for that puppet, but for Rhodes. Rhodes is finally going to buy the last piece of the island back, and they finally become the Rhodes thing. Also, Cyprus, yeah, you are going to kind of have your lands over here. Just wait. What if I have to test something first. That doesn't look as good. Ooh, this snake-like thing could work. So yeah, I'm just going to say that Messoa kind of sees that the inner lands of Cyprus are less advantageous for it, and eventually we do see that these areas over here and these areas over here will be given over to you know who. And we quickly see that not only will they be given over, but once these areas are fully taken over, we see that Cyprus becomes a kind of colony of Anatolia, and we quickly see that these guys. Huh? I thought that there was like a few bangs, but as we can see, these two become puppets of Ankara, and now I'm gonna just say we may have run out of time. Yep, it's been an hour and about a half. I'll see you guys next time. This has been the longest episode, I think. So I guess see you guys next time. Have a great day.